Knowing how to manage your stress and emotions is by far the most important skill that you will ever learn in your life. You can forget about everything else. Time management, productivity hacks or whatever. You can forget about all that. If you do not have this crucial skill down, you're going to fail at life. You're going to fail at your emotions. You're going to fail at your mental health. All of the little mental health tactics that you've been sprinkling here and there, they will all be futile if you do not know how to manage your stress. Stress is literally what gives us energy to thrive or what completely destroys our everyday life. And here's the thing, you might be thinking, whenever you're stressed and there's an activity right now that is stressing you, there is a certain deadline right now that's stressing you. You might be thinking, as soon as I'm done with this activity, the stress should be gone because I'm done with the activity. Having the mindset that stress would go away simply because I finished an activity really destroyed me internally. Because little did I know that every single time that I finished an activity, I finished a certain job or something, little did I know that the stress would still linger. It wouldn't just go away by itself. It wouldn't just go away with the activity. I had to intentionally process that stress, process those emotions, because what's going to happen, and what's probably happening with you right now if you're chronically stressed, is that each and every single time that you perform a task that is very stressful, you're stacking up that stress. Maybe you get out of work and you go play some video games. Maybe you go watch some Netflix. Maybe you go on YouTube or Reddit or whatever. You overstimulate yourself with some fun activity and you think that you're relaxing, that you are releasing the stress, as everyone wants to call it. You think you are releasing the stress and it is just not affecting you anymore, when in reality, when you do all these highly stimulating activities after a stressful situation, what you're doing is actually suppressing your emotions. That's why you don't feel them. That's why you feel temporarily better. And that's why the very next day, as soon as you have to do all of those stressful activities again, that stress is still lingering. You're still like, man, I have to get to work again. Man, I just wish everything would change, man. That like, oh my gosh, I wish I wasn't so stressed. Well, guess what? You're imposing it on yourself. Let me tell you right now, you have to have at least 3 activities within your day that allow you to deload the stress, to not suppress that stress just like video games do, just like YouTube does, just like Netflix does. There are certain activities that you can do that allow you to release that stress so it doesn't affect you anymore. Now, here's the caveat. These activities are a lot less stimulating, because you have to understand, when an activity is very stimulating, whenever you're switching your attention all the time, whenever you're scrolling on TikTok, you don't really have to pay much attention and your brain is just turned off. It basically suppresses all the emotions that you have stacked up inside because of all the stimulation that's going on. But these activities that I'm about to show you, they're not as easy because they're not fun per se. Because these activities are meditation, silent walks, reading a book, doing these simple activities that don't stimulate your brain so much to the point of exhaustion. You can also go work out, go to the gym, go for a jog, do whatever, do any of these activities. But what these activities do, they allow your brain to just sit idly. You don't have to process anything. You don't have to focus intensely on any one task. Maybe you do have to you have to focus on reading, you have to focus on running, you have to focus on lifting weights. But these things are automatic. It's not like your brain has to constantly solve all of these things, like whenever you're watching TikTok, or you always have to process this new bit of information that's going into your brain and absolutely ruining your attention span, by the way, but that's a completely different video. The best lens that you could look at this in is fun and relaxation are not the same thing. After you get out of work, after you finish a stressful event of some sort or something very stressful happens, having fun is not the same as relaxation. It's the relationship between emotional suppression and emotional release. When you suppress your emotions, you have fun. You try to drown it out. You try to just suppress the emotions so it doesn't bother you anymore. You try to not feel it out. You don't confront it. On the other hand, emotional relaxation, when you truly relax your brain, when you are truly doing something in order to improve your mental health, you face the emotion head on. You journal about it, you write about how you feel, you reflect on your emotions, you meditate. I feel this way, I feel that way. this happened today, and I acknowledge these emotions. I don't see them as either good or bad, but I'm gonna acknowledge that they're right there so I can actually like process them and they don't affect me throughout my days anymore. That's the very crucial part that everyone misses. And can I blame them? Not really. I can't really blame them, because every single time that you do get out of work, that something stressful happens, you do very much feel better after suppressing your emotions, but that suppression is very short-lived. As soon as you finish that activity that allowed you to suppress those emotions, all the emotions just come flooding out and you start feeling like garbage again. So it's a very temporary solution, a very easy, cheap solution that really doesn't last. When in the inverse, the harder thing actually gives you lasting results. Because if you process the emotion from one day, it's not going to affect you into the next. But apart from all the tactics that I've shown you so far, there is one really cool tactic that you can use in order to decrease the amount of stress that you actually deal with throughout the day. And it's changing your mindset. Whenever you're confronted with challenges, what is your first response? Your first response is probably, why me? Why am I facing this? Why is life so hard, man? When in reality, your response should be, this is an opportunity for me to grow. When you look at life through that lens, like this is an opportunity for me to grow. Let's say that you take a loss of some sorts. And if you respond in a very negative way, like why me, your stress goes up to here. And if you don't respond in a negative way, if you see it in the light of, oh, this is growth. I mean, this is awesome because I'm actually growing. Sure, it might hurt a little bit, but instead of your stress going all the way over here, it only increases up to here. So it really doesn't increase as much as if you were to have a negative mindset, not nearly as much. Also, don't get me wrong, some degree of stress is actually good for you. It allows your brain to come into focus, to actually be productive, because imagine if you were just relaxed all the time. You wouldn't get anything done. You wouldn't really care about your activities. You would be a very lazy person. So stress does actually get you into activation, but having it high throughout the day, like throughout the entire day or through months, that's where the issue lies. That's why you have to have stress management skills that allow you to decrease your stress. That can happen through a lot of activities that I already told you. But another really cool technique that you can use is breath work. Go search up some breath work. I'm not going to go into the details of how to do the breath work because there's a lot of techniques, honestly. And you can do your research yourself and just make sure it comes from people who actually know what they're talking about. You can also take funerals as examples. Why only process emotions when the emotions are intense? When someone passes away, we don't hesitate to make a funeral. We don't hesitate to gather our family as one, to go mourn the loss of a loved one. But for some reason, when it comes to our emotions, we just don't care. We make absolutely no space to reflect, process everything that's going on within ourselves. For whatever reason, we only give this moment to intense situations, intense emotional experiences, and that shouldn't be the case. You should learn to give that same attention that you give to others to yourself as well. Whenever you're feeling something, whenever you're feeling grief, make sure to journal it down, make sure to meditate on it, etc. But do not let these emotions and stress pile up. As always, if you have any questions in the comments, go ahead and leave them below. I will gladly answer them. By the way, brother, if you want to join a community with like-minded young men and women just like you, who are also on their self-improvement grind, you can go ahead and join that link in the description, alright? See you there. And remember, a man who masters himself is truly free.